What is it that makes George Frederick Handel's oratorio Messiah both a musical and cultural icon?
His gift for invention and his ability to arouse the passions of his audiences was absolutely unequaled.
Even after having done it 30 times, there are startling relationships between the words and the music that I think are what really energize the piece.
Handel was an opera composer, and he kind of, without really thinking about it too much, he had all these wonderful techniques for making things dramatic.
And Handel's Messiah has always had what's called street cred, believability and accessibility to the average person.
You can get into the swing of it very quickly, and I think all that's made it very, very approachable. And so around about Christmas time, people gather together and let's have a blast through Messiah.
That kind of mass appeal would have been fine with Handel, the expatriate German who spent most of his adult life in London.
Handel's one of the first great musical entrepreneurs. He comes to London to make money. There's a thriving music industry there, and he takes charge of that. And he is the leading music figure in London for over 40 years. That's an amazing career. Well, Handel's ticket prices were the most expensive in London. In the 1750s, when he's putting on Messiah performance, usually several thousand people are coming to hear the performances.
The speed at which Handel wrote Messiah is legend, with its 250,000 musical notes.
Handel actually wrote out the Messiah score in 24 days. If you were working with a crow quill pen, dipping it in an inkwell, how fast could you write a page of music? It seems that we couldn't even copy a score like Messiah in as little time as he actually composed it. But if you look at his handwriting while he's doing it, he's literally just flying across the pages.
Often forgotten is the fact that Messiah is a collaboration. Handel wrote the music based on biblical texts organized by librettist Charles Jennens.
Handel and Jennens met in December 1739. Now, after Messiah was finished, he gave a copy of the music or showed him the music for Messiah, and Jennens was really upset by it, didn't like his setting at all, and tried to get him to change a number of pieces in it, including the overture. And for the next 3 years, he hounded Handel over replacing the overture. One of the first performances outside of the British Isles appears to have been at Trinity Church, where the overture and maybe a dozen or more numbers, probably choruses, were performed in 1770. That's only 11 years after Handel's death. And as far as I know, before any performances were done on the continent of Europe. So that's quite an amazing thing, because the score of Messiah was only published in 1767, so it's only 4 years after that date.
That first Trinity performance occurred in January 1770. Now, Messiah is a December tradition at the church and everywhere else. Messiah as a Christmas tradition would surprise Handel.
And he thought of it as a Lenten piece, and it was performed in Lent around about Easter time, and that was tradition for quite a while, maybe 100 years or more. It only gradually it began to be taken and used and sort of shifted into the Christmas period. Messiah was the first piece I ever conducted as a conductor. The first time I ever sort of was let loose and tried.
Simon Carrington has performed Messiah as a chorister, a double bass player, and a conductor, and can immediately identify his favorite part.
The tenor comes in and says, "Thy rebuke hath broken his heart," which is comes right after these choruses we were just talking about. Thy rebuke hath broken his heart is just one of the most amazing moments in any oratorio.
There was no man, neither found he any.
Now, everybody has a theory on the tradition of the audience standing during Messiah's Hallelujah chorus.
In early Messiah literature, there are a lot of folk tales and anecdotes, and one of them is that the king came to one of the performances and for some reason stood up. And It was, of course, customary for everyone else to stand if the king stood. Unfortunately, there's no evidence that King George II ever attended one of Handel's performances of an oratorio. After Handel died, the practice of standing during these choruses may have begun to center around the Hallelujah chorus, so the tradition within a generation or so might have just centered around that one chorus.
Which brings us to the question of the legacy of Messiah. A powerful drama by a man of the theater, or a statement of personal faith?
It's a story that we know, it's music that we know, but the way it's put together can still surprise and captivate us.
The experience of writing Messiah, he felt he was confronting God, and he saw heaven briefly.
I think we can say that he was trying to create his greatest work in Messiah, and he may have thought that.